Live on a Friday. Glad to wrap up this great week, post-draft reaction week. It's been a crazy week for Titans content because of the A.J. Brown trade reaction, what Ryan Tannehill said to the national media on Tuesday afternoon, and what we've been reacting to really the last several days. We haven't had a chance to actually diagnose the Titans draft picks outside of Treylon Burks a little bit and Malik Willis a little bit too, but there are 7 other guys that we haven't spent really a single minute on this week, and I can't wait to do this. I've been working and looking and researching some of these draft picks over the last several days, and I think the Titans, with their 9 draft picks, all 9 of them fit a specific theme and what the Titans were obviously trying to do with this draft class. So we'll go through what that theme is, who I think stands out with this theme. What does it mean for John Robinson and the Titans, and what they're working towards for the now and for the future. We'll talk about your favorite draft pick. We'll ask you guys flat out, who's your favorite draft pick in this Titans draft class? And we'll go through and talk more about some of the other 7 guys that we haven't gotten to this week. And then we haven't done this yet either. We haven't graded the draft class. We've done a lot of content, but we haven't graded this overall draft class. And that includes the A.J. Brown trade. So we got to make sure we weigh that properly with our overall draft grade. Ain't that good news? Always wraps us up on a Friday, sending us to a weekend. It should be nice and toasty in Nashville this weekend. So a lot of potential outdoor activities for everybody. So ain't that good news to wrap up the week? Zach, what's going on? Welcome in. How things going?
Yeah, well, a couple of things before we get started. Steven, I looked at his comment, and this is what I felt during our pre-show conversation, Austin. Time for a new direction. It definitely felt like this was the draft that they were, pivoting. And it wasn't a massive pivot, but it was a pivot in my mind with the number of drafts of players they actually drafted and then who they drafted. So we got to deep dive into that. And I haven't told you about this, Austin, but at some point during the show, maybe it's before good news, I had a light bulb go on. As you know, I am a uniform aficionado. I have a hot take / prediction that has to do with the Tennessee Titans and uniforms. It's no inside information. It's just
Are you sure you just want to release this?
It's a feel.
Do we don't want a Friday news dump this uniform?
Well, it's not news. It's just my opinion.
Okay. Well, okay.
I told you that I don't have any inside information.
I
have a thought, and I would like to share it. And Today is the day. There's no holding over the weekend. And maybe it's right before good news because it's going to be good news for this Titans community to hear what I have to say. And then, and also there will be a little bit of trivia involved. We're going to sprinkle a lot in this show just in the hour or so that we have this conversation. But yeah, I have this and I'm prepared and I'm ready to release my opinion. I'm never short of opinions, but this in particular, I'm ready for. I need to send it out to sea. And so today is the day. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and we will tweet out those YouTube links on our Twitter at A to Z Sports. You can follow us there for good content. We're over 18K there and climbing. For YouTube, what you need to do is subscribe if you watch on YouTube. If you watch on Facebook, you can jump on over to YouTube later this afternoon, subscribe to our page, and you can like this video. That's what we need to do. I ask every single day for Facebook, the real OGs to share the show. For YouTube, like this video. If you're watching live, if you're watching post, not Post Malone, but go ahead and drop that like. That would help us out and distribute the show within the YouTube channels. And we need more Titans fans I want more opinions. And we've gained some great audience from the draft and carrying over to this week on this Friday. For Facebook, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing on a Friday. And more people are going to be piling in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. We can't wait for that to happen. Let's get this party started.
Yeah, if Facebook ever sends the damn notification, more people will pile in, but that's a meta.
That's why we got YouTube. That's why you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's right. All right, let's get it going officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you Follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also, find those show links on Twitter and our Instagram story. Also, hit us up on TikTok. We're going to have some really good rookie minicamp coverage coming up next weekend. But also, got to thank our sponsors before we dive into this show, because they make it happen for everybody, including you guys. Wilson County Hyundai. If you need a new car, go check out Wilson County Hyundai in Lebanon or at their website simply at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. Speaking of the Bone and Joint Institute, a golf clap for effort. Connor Ingram, much better in goal last night for the Preds. Losing still in OT 2-1, but way better than losing a touchdown to a safety like they did the other night.
No, yeah, you're right. And he played very, very well. And that was a really good game. That was playoff hockey right there. Unfortunately, and I call it like I see him, once that puck hit the back of the net, I said, this series is over. And I thought they could have had a chance if they came back home 1-1 and maybe mucked this thing up. But at the end of the day, that's hockey, and the Avs are the better team. And unfortunately, they got the win last night.
I'm going to make a pun that only true Preds fans will understand. Connor Ingram played admirably. So if you get that, then you get that. If you don't, then you don't. But we did have a dog talk segment yesterday with the Bone and Joint Institute about the ankle injury for UC Saros. It does not sound like he has a chance to get back whatsoever for this series. And who knows as the Preds get going. All right, Zach. We have yet to dive deep into this draft class whatsoever. 9 guys. We've talked some Traylon Burks. We've talked some Malik Willis with all the Tannehill and A.J. Brown conversation. We haven't talked a lick about Roger McCreary, Nicholas Petit-Frere. We haven't talked anything about Hassan Haskins or Kyle Phillips or Chig Okonkwo or Theo Jackson, the local kid, or even your Ole Miss Rebel, Chance Campbell. So you send A.J. to Philly and you bring in another Ole Miss Rebel to replace that. So a lot of good things with this Titans draft class. And I just named them basically in order they were picked. They all have one thing in common, Zach, and that is their play physicality. That is the theme that John Robinson drafted with this 9-person draft class. Play physicality. And that is regardless of height and weight or position. That is regardless of any of that. All 9 of these guys play physicality. It is really impressive. I don't care if it's Petit-Frere, the offensive tackle, weighs 300 pounds, or Hassan Haskins, who's 230 pounds, the tight end or the linebacker, or the 5'11" slot receiver. They are all physical dudes. Roger McCreary, 5'11", 190. Kyle Phillips, 5'11", 189. Basically drafted me. But those two dudes at 190 or less are so competitive and physical with how they play their position in the game of football that you can't not love them when you watch those two guys, McCreary and Phillips, play football. And it's like that for everybody. Even the quarterback, Malik Willis, plays with a physicality that might remind people of Steve McNair. I'm not comparing the two, but the play physicality of being able to run around, break through tackles, and be strong with the football. It really is impressive with how they've drafted all 9 of these guys, different shapes, different sizes, but they all have that one thing in common.
Well, and that's not surprising, right? Because this is what John Robinson said to us at his opening press conference when he got hired, is what type of team he wanted to build. And that vision has been solidified with the hiring of Mike Vrabel, the success of Mike Vrabel, and the players that have been drafted and picked up in free agency. Now I will say, and I'm not going to do what I did yesterday. I was a little trigger happy, and I threw out the love of the show, and the chat was on fire. This is a good comment. Okay. Lane brings up, but do they love ball? Because that has been the Achilles heel of John Robinson. They can play physical on the football field, but do they love ball? That's kind of been and has gotten away from them in some draft picks and has been very costly over the years.
So let me answer that question by saying this. Like, these guys play physical through competitiveness, right? Like,
but do they love ball?
Yeah. Well, if you don't love ball, then you're probably not that competitive on the field, right? That kind of, does that not go hand in hand?
Ask Kevin Dodd and Isaiah Wilson. Those two things come up in my head.
Look, were those two guys competitive? Would you?
Isaiah Wilson on the field was. I mean, if you looked at his tape. Yeah, did you watch the Georgia tape? Maybe you're just thinking of his boat video in Miami.
No, I'm thinking of
that was a different type of physical.
All right, you're right, because I'm basing what I saw of Isaiah Wilson of his lazy ass in practice with his ass up in the air because he's out of shape. And
that's not why they drafted him.
He wasn't even able to be competitive in Titans practice because of how out of shape he was.
Right, so that's why I brought up Lane's comment. Do they love ball? And so they may play physical. I like that. I think, this is not a finesse league. Now, you can try to finesse it with, the style of play, but that's not the team they have right now. Will that be the team they have on down the road? Maybe. Malik Willis may bring that to the table if he becomes the Titans starter at some point in time. But right now, Derrick Henry is the centerpiece. He's always been the centerpiece for the last 2 years. And he's got a chip on his shoulder coming off from injury. That has not changed. And what I think, looking at this draft class, and based on what you said, Austin, the physicality complements what this team wants to do. Yeah. This team will not be the same team that the 3 years from now, that team will be, right? Just like it wasn't, when Marcus Mariota was playing. It's a different team. But for this particular roster, I felt like they achieved two things. I think first, they drafted a lot of players because they needed more players to come in there and compete, because it's not the same roster of Julio Jones and A.J. Brown of last season, right? Now, there's a lot of familiar faces on the defense, right? That has kind of hung tight, which is good. But that was the first thing that I noticed. The number of players, that domino was affected by A.J. Brown. They didn't have a second-round pick, and then all of a sudden, the trade started to come in. And the other thing is, I do think, looking at the board and all 9 of them, I sit there and I look, these guys do seem smart and savvy. One of the things that you pointed out was the physicality. I look at the draft pick for Auburn, and Roger McCreary, I feel like tenacious, right? That's kind of how he plays. When I saw him on tape, I watched some of his play. I've kind of felt the same thing. Traylon Burks goes up and gets the football, right? He's not a Kendall Wright body catcher. No. That's not him.
Well, at times Burks does have some body catching issues, but most receivers in college do. That's a trait you have to continue to get better at once you get into the NFL.
Right. The offensive tackle out of Ohio State, Petit-Frere.
Yeah.
You sit and you watch his film now, and this is actually pretty interesting. He's a very good run blocker. That was kind of what got him up the board of where he is. He did struggle, and this is something he can work on, right? He's a rookie. He did struggle against superior pass rush. And that's something that can be taught. I think that he can learn that skill. It's going to be tough. But in college, even, the first great characteristic of that tackle, though, is run blocking. That's what they need right now. Derrick Henry still moves the needle for this team, and I thought they got very complimentary pieces for what they're trying to do now. They're not quitting. Now, I think, with them drafting Malik Willis, them trading away A.J. Brown, them drafting a rookie, with their first-round pick in Traylon Burks, excuse me, you sit there and you feel like this is, man, they're rebuilding, right? That terrible word that no fan wants to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily feel like they were rebuilding. They were just adjusting, right? They still believe in the core of their team. Ryan Tannehill's still the quarterback. Derrick Henry's still the running back. they have complementary pieces around it. The defense is probably better than it ever has been.
Oh, the defense is as good as it's been since like 2008 when you had the chain gang up front.
So I didn't feel like it was a rebuild, but I do feel like it was an adjustment, and we haven't seen that adjustment in a few years.
Yeah, Tanner says the Titans are remodeling. I think it's a reload and retooling.
A renovation.
Yes, it's a renovation, but the renovation, while the finished product always makes you feel great, man, it's a pain in the ass to have to redo the kitchen while you're living in your house, right? And so,
yeah, everybody's walked into a house when they're doing those, and it's like, oh, you guys are living here. This is tough. But then you go back and you're like, wow, this looks really good.
It's like, oh yeah, we're redoing our the master bathroom. Yeah. So you're sleeping in the guest room or on the couch while you're doing all that, right? So you have to adjust, and there's going to be some growing pains and some remodeling pains to go along with it. Juggy says the Titans are going to be ass.
Look, that's a fair opinion. Juggy can have that opinion. And you know what? Juggy may be right at the end of the day. I have no idea.
I don't think he's right because, we talk about changing direction and like with the Malik Willis and AJ Brown moves. I don't think it does feel like a shift, but they're not changing direction. The same traits that the Titans prioritize were reloaded in this 9-person draft class.
I think they're starting to change direction, but they have not changed.
Right. But
there's a difference.
We talked about the importance of having this rookie class help this core win in 2022. We talked about that when AJ Brown was still in Nashville. AJ Brown is going to be a talking point over the entire summer until we see Treylon Burks working against like the Bucks and the Cardinals in joint practices in August. That's going to be a continued question mark until week 1 kicks off and beyond, right? There's still question on that, but I do really, really like a lot of these pieces they filled in after Burks to complement the rest of the core of this organization. So let's go ahead and ask our question now.
Well, before we get to that, I do want to say this because Michael Billington brings up a good point. Mike Vrabel has shown he is able to get all the juice out of the team. And that is a great characteristic of a head football coach, right? Can you get the most out of your team? I think that was one of many reasons why he won Coach of the Year last year. He got the most juice out of the orange. Now, look, in Isaiah Wilson's case, if he can't be squeezed, he can't be squeezed. But, Mike Vrabel, that's the type of coach that you want. Maybe in this redirect or remodel, whatever we want to call it, retool. That's, I think, the kind of coach that I want when that has to happen. Here's my one thing, and then we'll get to the question. Juggy eloquently said the Titans are going to be ass. Well, what is ass? That I think that also has to be defined.
Missing the playoffs.
Right. Is that? I don't know. Right. With a tough AFC and a really tough schedule, I don't know. I'm very curious to see how things shake out. My second favorite day of the year, of the sports year, and maybe I'm weird, is my first favorite day is the opening of NFL football and the second week of college football. Man, it just gives me chills thinking about it. But I also love the schedule release. I sit there and I plan my fall. I sit there and say who's going to be good because it's so hard because, you have surprise teams. There's a lot of turnover. What the Titans have done is pretty damn impressive with the number of consecutive years that they've made the playoffs, right? I mean, not many teams have done what they have done.
Winning seasons, 6 consecutive seasons.
Right? That's impressive in its own right. This schedule is, I think, will be the test of what Juggy really, truly thinks on how this season's going to play out.
Now, Scott says, week 1, Titans at Eagles. Oh, that's the only way you can guarantee A.J. Brown to be healthy for the Titans-Eagles game. All right, A to Z Sports here live on
later on.
Live on this Friday. Let's ask this question. Who is your favorite Titans draft pick from this class? It's just a simple question. You got 9 options. Who is your favorite draft pick from this Titans class? But real quick, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. We did a dog talk segment yesterday with Dr. Ronald Durr who's a foot and ankle specialist. We talked about UC Saros and the high ankle sprain and what that means. Go check that out on our YouTube page, also on our Facebook, for more reaction for Preds fans that want to know what the long-term impacts for UC Saros. He ain't coming back this year, guys, but I do think there's a positive look ahead for the long-term impact for UC Saros. But whenever you get hurt, the experts are there for you. They have a specialist with any type of joint injury you could possibly think of. Check them out in Franklin, state-of-the-art facility, boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM, that is who powers us each and every morning, and we love BetMGM. We want you guys to download the app today. Tonight, NBA basketball, and I watched hockey last night because I'm a sports fiend, but tonight, ball night. Friday night, we got NBA. Saturday, Sunday, I can't wait. Second round NBA. What we got for you, ATOZ 200 for a $10 money line wager to win $200 if either team hits a three-pointer. Well, that's going to happen. Threes are going to be flying tonight, baby, and that could be $200 right in your pocketbook. All you have to do is use that promo code ATOZ200, all one word, no spaces, right there. Enter that promo code. New users getting hooked up by BetMGM.
A to Z Sports Live on this Friday, asking you guys the question, and a lot of comments are flying in. Who's your favorite draft pick from this class? Who is your favorite draft pick from this class? I'm trying to scroll to the top because you guys are just flying them in here. I see a lot of here we go. And Eric, thank you for pointing this out. My ear warmers are now on, as I had it in my lap, but got distracted by the beginning of the show. But
it just looks like an oversized headband, which again I allowed it yesterday, but it does look like just an oversized.
Well, I told
headband.
You what it was. It's the visor version of a toboggan. Like does
it have? But does it have the earmuffs, or is it just an oversized?
No, it's an ear warmer. It's like wool.
It's an oversized headband.
It's an ear warmer.
I mean, you can categorize it however you want. Is it an oversized headband?
No, headbands are for sweat or to keep hair out of your eyes. This is to keep your ears warm. There's a different fabric. It's thicker than what a headband
looks kind of like what Klay Thompson wears.
No, it does not. If Klay Thompson wore this in the court, he would look like a fool like I do right now.
He kind of wears it's close. It's about maybe a half an inch less thick, but it's close. Watch Klay tonight. Watch it.
All right. So who's your favorite draft pick? Steven says Malik Willis. Traylon Burks from Derek. Burks easy. Burks from G-Man. Burks from Tighten Up. Burks from Tim. I think it makes sense because Traylon Burks was a popular fan choice going into the draft for the first round pick. Bryce comes in with Hassan Haskins. So excited for him. So whenever we get to a new name, we can pause and talk about that player for a second. I think Hassan Haskins is a really solid pick. I thought it was probably a little too early to go get him where they got him. I thought they could have waited a second, but in hindsight, I like how the rest of the draft turned out. But Hassan Haskins, what's up?
Well, I was going to say Haskins' numbers a little bit inflated because of his dominant performance against Ohio State. He scored 5 touchdowns, had a ton of yards.
Classic
so when you look at his 20 touchdowns, really they're 15. I'll give him 16.
That's still a lot of freaking touchdowns.
I know, but I took a look. Again, I was box score reading the second they drafted him just to get to know him.
Okay. All right. Time out. Because let's just say, in a game that Michigan absolutely had to win for the life of their program, Jim Harbaugh has gone how many years without beating Ohio State? We cannot take away from Hassan Haskins' production because he beat Ohio State in the dirt.
It's a great game, but I do have to bring up that when you see 20 touchdowns, one game is 5.
Yeah, I don't care. It was the biggest game of the season for Michigan in 10 years. And Hassan Haskins was like, all right, mofos, ride my back. Let's go beat them. And they did it. So I think that's a positive check with Hassan Haskins. This is an obvious case of Mike Vrabel saying, holy hell, this guy just wrecked my alma mater. I want him on my team. I don't want him in my division in the NFL. That's exactly what this is like. Because it's a Michigan guy that beat the crap out of Ohio State. And so that's a positive for Hassan Haskins. That he rose to the occasion so much that he dominated one of the best programs in the country on a 60-minute session. Dominated.
They drafted Haskins because I feel they had already gone the scat back route in Darrington Evans and it didn't work, right? And so they went a little bit closer to Henry in that pick. I do agree with you. It was probably maybe slightly too early, but we always know there is a trump card in the draft. If you love a guy, he's on your board, he's at a high point, you draft him. And I felt like they did that, obviously, with Malik Willis by trading up to go get him. And I think they did that with Haskins as well.
Yeah, and so somebody said Hassan Haskins isn't very fast. Yeah, he is not like your huge 40 guy, but he's fine. I mean, it's not like he's fast enough, he's strong, and he will blow your face up with his shoulder and his stiff arm and his helmet. He's a physical runner, and he fits what the Titans want to do when it comes to the zone read scheme that they like.
And look, and I brought up the Michigan game, and Ethan says, Zach's logic, I'm not going to factor in their best performances. That was a singular performance, Ethan. And you shouldn't factor in just one performance. You draft a player on the plural, right? So you kind of messed up your quote. It is performance. That's what I picked out with the 5 touchdowns. You draft a guy based on his performances over the course of a season. That can he help your football team in the long haul? And obviously the Titans looked at the tape and where they drafted him, and they said, yes, this is the guy. This is the, and it's not necessarily a change-up back. It's more, and this is where I think they won. I think they looked at what Foreman did for him last year and said, let's get closer to that and less to, the small shifty back that can get into the backfield and for screen passes, just because that's not their offense.
Yeah, and D's right. Haskins will be the Deontay Foreman.
Like Dontrell, they learned that from Foreman.
Well, because if you go look at what he does, like we watch Titans practices, we see the drills that Derrick Henry does. They put the trash cans out to replicate the linemen, and they have Derrick Henry do the zone reads of who fills what gap, who fills the other. And Hassan Haskins does the same thing at Michigan. And Xavier says, will Haskins get reps this season? Hassan Haskins will be active on game day because he's outstanding on special teams. I don't know how many carries he's going to get because we like what we saw from Dontrell Hilliard last year, and there's a trustworthiness to that. But Hassan Haskins I think he'll be active 46 because he can blow up people on special teams. And obviously we know the Titans value that a lot. Let's go back and talk about more of the favorite draft picks. Zach, what are you seeing from some others in the chat about this?
Well, I'm going to go with mine. Okay. And, I could troll your ass and just say Chance Campbell to see your reaction, but I won't. My favorite, and we came up with this question, and I do love Chance Campbell. And I love the way he plays. He changed Ole Miss's. Ole Miss had a terrible defense for years and years and years. They were missing the Chance Campbell, and he's a transfer, right? They were missing that type of player in the center of their defense, and he helped them a lot last year to get to the Sugar Bowl. But I looked at this, and the question is, who is my favorite? So I combined favorite with kind of best because, I want that player to do well over the long period of time throughout his Titans career. And I looked at it and I said, is there a better grade than I gave Malik Willis yesterday with A-? And I've come to the conclusion that the answer is no. Oh. Malik Willis is my favorite out of this draft class because I was an advocate. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. I felt like the Tennessee Titans should put pressure on Ryan Tannehill, and they did. They didn't just help him and try to run it back. They sat there and they retooled, they pivoted, and they put pressure on Ryan Tannehill. And I think, and I look at a draft class and I say, who's going to make the most impact to a team over the course of a long period of time? And I said, the guys that could probably do that are Burks and Willis. Malik Willis is my answer. I like the pick. I like where they drafted him. I like the opportunity of a ceiling for Malik Willis is very high in my opinion. Look, he could fall and he could not do very well, but he's a 3rd round pick. So my diagnosis out of the 9 draft picks, I don't see one better than an A- in my opinion for what he can do for this football team over the long haul, Malik Willis is my answer.
Josh says, how does a late third round pick define a draft class? Well, Josh, I'll just say, who is the player on your YouTube profile? Kevin Byard's a third round pick. I think I'm pretty sure he defined a draft class.
Josh got.
Also, ask the Seattle Seahawks from the 2012 draft how a third round pick defines a draft class.
Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, Russell Wilson was pretty good at pick 75 in the third round. Oh gosh. So there's twice that Josh just got duped.
Well, no, the worst one was his profile, his avatar.
Now, the thing about his profile picture, he did say late third round. Kevin Byard was a higher third round pick, but still a third round pick. But yeah, Russell Wilson pretty good. And Ryan Tannehill is so much better than what Matt Flynn was in that situation with Seattle, right? But I mean, that's a legitimate hope. Like Titans fans, you hope you found a Russell Wilson in Malik Willis. A guy, but again, two very different situations. But
I don't know how this is going to work, but Malik Willis, let's always pinch ourselves. He was projected to be a first round pick, guys.
Yeah.
Like we always have to remember that. Now, projections are not reality, but Malik Willis was projected to go in the first round of the NFL draft. Now, be it probably not a great quarterback draft class, but who cares? That's what it was. To get a guy who's projected in the first round and the third round, that's really good.
I'm sorry. I think we found the love of the show because Bryce just says Matt Flynn never threw 3 interceptions in a playoff game. In his defense, facts, absolutely. All right, so oh, Josh, he goes, I wasn't even talking to you, Austin. My God. Well, you were responding to Zach talking about, the third round pick being his favorite of the class.
Chirp.
Yeah, I think it fit. You don't have to be talking to me, but for me to come after where I thought you were wrong. But I like the Malik Willis pick after I initially didn't. And that is the same thing of my answer for this question of who is your favorite draft pick of this class? Another guy that I was like, what? Why? But I love him. Roger McCreary. Roger McCreary is my favorite guy because Roger McCreary went 35 overall, higher than a lot of people thought. And when everybody saw Roger McCreary, like a corner, really? What? Why? Roger McCreary is going to be a fan favorite because he reminds me of the competitive nature of Cortland Finnegan with more physicality and better attributes. Cortland Finnegan was a try hard, and I like Cortland, and you guys love Cortland Finnegan, but Roger McCreary is so much more talented and athletically gifted than Cortland Finnegan. The only knock you can have on Roger McCreary is that he's kind of got shorter arms, but the dude is so sticky that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have short arms when you're in somebody's back pocket the entire game. You talk about Hassan Haskins blowing up Ohio State's defense and rising to the occasion. Roger McCreary's best game was against Alabama with John Mechie and Jamison Williams healthy. Roger McCreary is a beast. He is exactly what you're looking at from a cornerback. Mr. Clean says Cortland was just a dog. That's Roger McCreary too. 5'11", 190, but he will tackle you with his shoulder. He puts his face mask on the football when he tackles. He doesn't dive at ankles or try to trip up guys or arm tackle or hang on to one leg and wait for his teammates to come. No, dude, the guy thumps. Roger McCreary is not just good in coverage. He's good in man. He's good in zone. He's good outside. He's good inside. He's good in the run game. You're going to like Roger McCreary because he's really competitive. The guy is going to be on the field.
So we've got to bring this player up because I do think it will be a fan favorite. And I am very excited to see him on the field. And that is Kyle Phillips. He has Hunter Renfrow vibes. And whether you like Hunter Renfrow, that dude is productive. He makes people miss in the open field within his route. I'm not talking about after the catch because the speed maybe not there compared to cornerbacks, but his routes are precise. He's reliable. That's the type of guy that I think the Titans needed, right? I mean, and they tried that a couple of years ago, and it didn't work out. I think this is the type of draft pick that you get with the value that can supersede probably going out in free agency and trying out there and overpaying. I really like Kyle Phillips. And I think whatever quarterback is going to play with him is going to really like Kyle Phillips.
I was down of answering this question, your favorite draft pick, with McCreary and Phillips, who are both the two smallest guys in this class by a long shot, right? Burks 225, Haskins 228, Chig 230, 240, big guys. Chance Campbell's 240 plus. Even Theo Jackson, who we haven't talked about yet, is 6'2", 200 plus pounds. But McCreary and Phillips are both 5'11", 189, 190-ish. The only thing I actually dislike about Kyle Phillips is that Phillips is spelled with one L, because that's going to be something that nobody's ever going to get right. Like, it drives me insane, because go to the chat and Jake is the only person I've seen get it right with the one L in Phillips, because Tim didn't do it right. Eric did it right. How about that? Actually, Dad got it right too. But seriously, Kyle Phillips having one L in his last name will drive me crazy, but you absolutely love the player.
So two things, Marv, and I know that you will share this sentiment, Austin. Don't let him wear the number 10.
No.
And you want him to be not this 10 for the Titans. A lot like Adam Humphries, you want him to be Tampa Bay Buccaneer Adam Humphries. The reason why he got the big contract was his production with the Bucs. He was open. Now, look, it was an offense and a throwback with Dirk Cutter and a bunch of, weapons, and he had open space. But Kyle Phillips, here's the other thing. Kyle Phillips is going to get opportunity. With Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, and the season worked out where Kyle Phillips would have got a ton of opportunity last year because they were both hurt. But I think Kyle Phillips in training camp will get a lot of opportunity, and he could be the surprise of camp. And I don't want to go out on a limb completely and say that, but I got a feeling, I just have this weird inkling that Kyle Phillips, because he's a practice guy, right? He just seems like a practice guy, the guy that's going to go 100%, the Rudy that makes guys miss an open space in his routes, gets open, catches the football, and they move the chains. I think preseason is going to be his time to shine. I hope that Kyle Phillips climbs the ladder and all of a sudden he's starting. I really want that to happen.
The opportunity is there because they don't have a slot receiver that's as polished as he is. Now, Mason Kinsey does have a couple practice squad years under his belt and has that head start on Kyle Phillips, but they drafted Kyle Phillips for a reason. I think the Titans love Kyle Phillips. I think the Titans love what he brings to the table. And Kyle Phillips and Roger McCreary drive the theme home that led off the show of play physicality. Kyle Phillips does not look intimidating whatsoever, but somehow he breaks tackles, he carries guys, he gets open, he makes corners run circles because of his route ability, and he catches contested passes. And Kyle Phillips is everything you want from a slot receiver. And I liked Adam Humphries a lot. Adam Humphries was very good. He just could not stay healthy. He had an ankle injury, unfortunately, and then a concussion that did him in. And so Kyle Phillips also returns punts really well. And there's
and he has that reliability. We always look at Mark Mariani. That guy was reliable. You wanted, when the punt went up, you knew that something bad was probably not going to happen. Now, not always was it going to be returned for a touchdown. And Mariani had a lot of those, but that's what they need. They need to secure the ball for their offense to go to work. They can't make mistakes. Also, I wanted to ask you your personal opinion, because you watched, I watched all of his games too, but I didn't necessarily pay attention to his career. 6th-round pick Theo Jackson out of your alma mater, Tennessee. What was your thoughts there?
One, Theo Jackson from my parents' alma mater, Overton High School, as well. So Overton Bobcat, which is pretty cool, right? Like it's all like there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for Titans to draft Nashville kids. So first and foremost, I think that's just flat out sick. I think it's awesome. In his press conference right after being drafted, he was at his family's draft party for him. He talked. His uncle has had a suite in Nissan Stadium for years for the Titans. He grew up going to Titans games. So like that's a new thing for the Titans organization to draft one of their diehard local fans, because there hasn't been a lot of generations of players that grew up like Theo Jackson did. So I think that's awesome. I think that's great. I also think Theo Jackson's a really good pick because he's not like as athletically gifted as Dane Cruikshank. He's not as explosive or fast as Dane Cruikshank, but I think he's just as physical and just as versatile. The Vols played him this year all over the place. Deep safety, box safety, in the slot. They blitzed him a lot. He's really good in recognizing the play before the snap and reacting. He's a sure tackler, got good ball skills. So I think Theo Jackson's going to make the roster. I don't know what his game day role is going to be, but I do think he makes the roster as a developmental defensive back that can help you out with that Dane Cruikshank type cover the tight end role as a dime safety. And we have learned the Titans love playing dime. The Titans led the NFL in teams that played the dime. It was their second most used package with percentage of snaps. They had their base package and then their dime package with 3 safeties is what they went to after that. So I think Theo Jackson in time can help that.
As we touch on these draft picks, I do want to bring up, because I did have kind of during the draft when Jelani Woods went to the Indianapolis Colts and paired him with Mo Alley Cox. That's I think a little bit scary. I didn't like seeing that because we were high on Jelani Woods. Now we missed on him in our mock draft, and the Titans missed on him on their draft. But they replaced that, and I think they get a good, developmental tight end, which we talked about them needing in Okongwu. What do you think about him?
I don't know much about Chig, but his traits fit what the Titans want. Like you talk about the guys the Titans drafted in their comp, the comp for Treylon Burks was AJ Brown. The comp for Chig Okonkwo was Jonnu Smith. And so if Chig can become Jonnu Smith, then I think you got something there. The fastest 40 time of any tight end at the combine this year. He's a good enough blocker at this point in his career. He's got natural hands, and he stepped up and had his best games for Maryland when they needed him. Like the Ohio State and the Michigan game were the best that he played too. And so I think Chig's got high upside, but I don't think he's not Jelani Woods upside. And Drew says he is as tall as Jelani Woods. No, Chig is like 6'3", 238. Jelani Woods is 6'7". So Jelani Woods is a different type of athlete, but I do like I do like what Chig could become. Yeah.
Well, how do they get him out in space, right? They did a very good job with Jonnu with the tight end screens and letting him run, right? And that, I think, is a good way to kind of enter him into an offense, right? Give him some simple assignments. So I like the pick. Again, I had the sigh with Jelani Woods, but you can't always get all your guys that you want. But look, it checked a box. They had to draft a tight end. They needed to do that. And if he can come in there in a role and learn, and, he's behind, Hooper and Swaim, how can you take a little bit from both guys, that are veterans? They've been, in the league for quite some time, and then develop your skills over the next couple of years. As we've said, Jonnu Smith maybe is the bar. Jonnu got a big contract, right? Jonnu was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. That was a successful pick. He went somewhere else, but that's the industry, right? When a guy gets overpaid, and let's just face it, the Patriots overpaid Jonnu Smith. I think the Patriots and all their fans would tell you that today. But they got the most out of Jonnu, and it was a great bridge from Delanie Walker. Can Chig be that? Can he develop in year 3 as the starting tight end, and all of a sudden, whoa, this is really good value for fourth round?
It better be year 2. because Austin Hooper's a one-year contract guy. Jeff Swaim's a one-year contract guy. So you can use Chig in a way as the bring along tight end early on as a, fifth round draft pick, fourth or fifth round, I think it was. But you got to make sure that he can be ready to go next season. The last thing I want to say about Kyle Phillips is, and you'll relate to this, Kyle Phillips is the guy in pickup basketball that's just better than everybody that you didn't expect to be better than everybody. Like he walks out on the court, he hits shots, he crushes you up, he plays hard defense. He has every little nuance about how to get open, how to get the shot off. You can't block his shot. You think you can block his shot. You can't. You can't stay in front of him. He out rebounds you, but you got 5 inches on him. He is the guy that whips everybody on the court.
I've seen that guy. I've played against that guy. He's wearing a blue cutoff shirt with white shorts and white shoes. I've seen it so many times, and he dominates. He out-hustles you, and he has the athletic ability. And he'll hit. This is where I think I love the analogy because I love pickup basketball.
Yes.
He's the guy that will hit 16-footers. He steals 2 points. That's a guy, everybody in pickup is trying to get a layup or a three-pointer, mostly a three-pointer because of Steph Curry. He's the guy that gets 2 points, doesn't miss the layup because he's going to pull up on you and 16-foot your ass, and you're like, damn, that's another 2 points. They're up by 8 all of a sudden. So I am with you. The Titans need that. And it goes to the theme of the show, which is the theme of the Titans draft. That fits the mold of what they were trying to do.
Yep. Steven says Phillips is the dude at the YMCA that you love on your team, but you hate when you're like, I don't want to guard this guy again. Like if you have to play multiple pickup games against Kyle Phillips, like I really don't want to guard this guy for the 3rd game in a row. Like, can somebody else?
Well, he's not tired.
He's like, I'm exhausted, and Kyle Phillips like, y'all want to run it again? And I'm like, dude, come on, we need a break. Yeah, that's who Kyle Phillips is. And so, yeah, absolutely. A to Z Sports here live on this Friday show. There's one guy we haven't talked about really. I mean, you brought him up early, but we kind of moved on from him. It's Petit-Frere.
I like the pick. I think he's going to be a good run, but I thought that was with what his skill set is coming into the league. Can he help this team out of the gates if called upon? And my answer is yes. And so that's why I like the pick. You're constantly going to be drafting tackles. It's just a part of football. You're trying to find your next tackle that will honestly do what Taylor Lewan or Dennis Kelly did for this team, right? They gave them good years. And, Lewan gave them really good years early, and then the PEDs and, the ACL obviously hiccuped what he's done. But Taylor Lewan is still a very, very dominant left tackle. You need a guy always behind that in case something happens. I liked that pick. The Ohio State thing, I did laugh to myself just because any Ohio State guy that they draft, I'm going to laugh because, it's Vrabel. It'd be like, it's what you do with Tennessee and me do Ole Miss, right?
Just the one. It's the only guy.
No, I know, but like.
It's the first time they've drafted an Ohio State player with Vrabel.
Right, but he's got Ohio State people all around him. I mean, that's just what it is. I did watch a couple of interviews. Smart. Very smart and intelligent, and that I think is kind of the polar opposite of Isaiah Wilson and what we found out, right?
The most impressive thing about his intelligence is that he, in the middle in one game, Ohio State moved him from left tackle to right tackle in the middle of the game because they had to do it, and it was no problem. Like, that's hard. That's not easy.
This is a funny comment. And I didn't know if you knew this, Austin, but Ryan Tannehill actually played wide receiver in college.
He did.
And YouTube right there, Tannehill should be slot wide receiver. I don't think that's his calling. I think he's got one last, maybe two last, but one last hurrah this season to prove his value. Man, the pressure and the weight on 17 is...
Oh, I mean, there's a double down here. Tannehill needs to be the third wide receiver on this team.
These are some interesting takes.
Yeah. Very interesting. A to Z Sports here live on the show on this Friday. Let's go ahead and grade this overall draft class. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you guys need to go to get your perfect make and model of your brand new car. That's at Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Look at their inventory. Payne Bone and his team, family owned and operated. We love Wilson County Hyundai. And they've got the Palisade, third row seating. They've got the Sonata. They've got the Elantra, the Tucson, the Santa Fe. I mean, I know them all because Hyundai is a reliable brand. Fuel efficiency, you need that more than ever, especially heading into the summer months when travel is going to be abundant. And if you're taking road trips, you're spending money on gas. Don't spend as much money on gas. They also have the Ioniq, which doesn't need gas. It is battery powered. So they've got your perfect make and model. You've just got to find it at a great price. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Don't forget, download the app, BetMGM. Do it right there. Use our code ATOZ200. You get a $10 moneyline wager wins you $200 when either team hits a three-pointer in that game. So tonight, bet on it. NBA playoffs, they got it going. So just code ATOZ200 when you download the BetMGM app. A $10 moneyline wager wins you $200 when either team in that game hits a three-point shot. Zach, we're asking everybody grade the Titans' overall draft class. What are the people saying?
Well, first one that I saw is just an F from John. F because you can't remodel a house by burning it to the ground. Now let's stop here. Now, John, obviously reaching a lot. Do you feel like they burned the house to the ground?
No. They had to do what they had to do. A.J. Brown forced this situation.
I think it was A.J. Brown in the living room with a torch threatening to burn it down.
Yeah, so like, you had to get
this guy out of here.
Yes, exactly. No, you're right. Yeah. And that was like my analogy of on Monday of A.J. Brown's reaction to the contract offer of, you pull a prank on your buddy and then your buddy returns and blows up your car in retaliation. Like he just jumped so many levels with his $80 million guaranteed demand that, yeah, he was sitting there with a torch like, okay, I'm going to blow it up. Like, all right, fine, go to Philly, whatever.
But there was no lighter fuel in the actual, torch. That was the thing. I think it was a facade. I think, yeah, obviously he wanted 80 million. But I think him and CAA both knew that was a completely overstep of the reality of what the deal they were going to receive. I do think, and we all agree, he got more money than the Titans were ever going to pay him. So, and that's what it was, but it shook up this entire draft, and it does affect the grade of this draft. I mean, it has to. Let's go to the comments, and then we will grade it. Real quick,
did you see the breakdown of A.J. Brown's contract?
I don't believe so.
So I'm pulling it up right now on Spotrac. It's not.
Well, yeah, because year 3 is like astronomical, right? Or maybe it's year 4.
So the main thing is his signing bonus was $23.2 million. That's the cash that AJ got in his pocket right now was 23 mil.
Life-changing. Life-changing.
Yeah, because he's only making $4 million this year. Or less than that. His base salary this year is under $1 million.
What is his year 3 or year 4 salary? That's I think the one thing that stuck out.
Of the contract?
Yeah.
Well, basically, he's only going to be with the Eagles for basically 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah, and the out is $15 million in dead cap after the third year before the last 2 years of the extension. So it's really a 3-year, $57 million deal is what it is. It's really just 3 years for 57.
Well, more money than the Titans were going to pay him. So
the last 2 years, his base salary, Zach, in 2026 that he's never going to see.
Yeah,
is
this is it.
It's $30 million.
That's the number I was looking for. Again, I saw it when it was first released. That's the number I was looking for. He's not going to get that money unless he becomes Julio Jones, right? And he's in the prime of his career.
At 29, no. AJ Brown is never going to get that $30 million base salary in 2026.
It's very unlikely, but if he becomes Julio Jones and he's in the prime of his career and he's coming off of a 1,600-yard season, he will get that money because the cost of wide receiver, if you look at it, if Tyreek Hill's getting $30 million right now, God knows who the wide receiver is going to be getting in that year. So it's not as far-fetched as you think about it if you really break it down. But he's got to earn it, right? I mean, that money has to be earned. It's not given. And he wanted to be given money, and he was $23 million right now. So I don't doubt AJ Brown. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually got it, but I think it's highly doubtful.
But Tyreek Hill's, this is ridiculous. Tyreek Hill's base salary in 2026 is $43.9 million. And he's not going to get that either. His highest base salary in 2025 is 21. Like, that's the crazy thing about these contracts is that they're never going to get those base salaries. So AJ Brown got a 3-year, $57 million deal. Tyreek Hill from the Dolphins got 4-year for 95. So a better deal than what AJ got. But AJ's never going to see that $32 million in base.
I don't think you can say never. You can't say never because of what I just said.
No, he might still be on the Eagles. It'll just be restructured at that point.
It may not because of what the market will be. The market ain't going anywhere, pal. The salary cap's just going through the roof.
No, I'm telling you, here's what's going to happen. Like, listen to when I'm saying this specifically for a reason. AJ Brown will never get that base salary of $30 million in 2026 because
I'll tell you why. Here it's so simple. It's Devontae Smith. That's why he won't get it because they'll have to pay him.
Well, and my point that I was going to say is that before they approach 2026, they're going to see, holy crap, there's $30 million. We need to restructure that into signing bonus and spread it out for 5 more years. So he's never going to get the base salary of $30 million. It's just going to be restructured into signing bonus.
So he may get it just in a different way.
Yeah, but it's going to be moved around a lot because that's
all right. So including AJ Brown, how do you grade the Titans draft? Let's go to the chat. Our agent man, Lou Man 007, he's given a B. Steven says B minus. W plus, which is a new one from Stephen King. Solid B from Titans Kyle. B minus from David. Got a couple of A's coming in from Scott and Dat. A plus from Aaron. C plus from Big Ten Jeff. Eric says A minus. Mark says A. I struggle with the name. Oh, we're gonna Searing. Let's just call him Searing. Searing. A plus. And look, he's been active. So shout out to Searing.
It's really an A plus with Ryan Tannehill at wide receiver. Like
right? That's what his take was. Jared says B. Billy says A minus. Randy says B. Jake says A minus. Dadson with an A. A from Titans Tough. B plus from John Michael Presley. Remodeling, but an A from Mark Jones. Aaron says B. Nate says A minus. Brent says B. Some good comments coming in. Michael Billington says A minus. Would be an A, but the subtraction of AJ lowers it.
Sure.
Which
so
we take into account.
Let's pause there because you don't have this draft class if you have AJ Brown, because you only had a certain amount of picks. You gained 9 draft picks. You gained 2 extra players because you trade away AJ Brown. If you keep AJ Brown, Treylon Burks doesn't make it to you at 26. If you keep AJ Brown, you don't get Treylon Burks. You don't get Roger McCreary. You don't get Malik Willis.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's dominoes, right? I mean, we all know that, right? Something has to happen for this to happen.
Right. And so you have to lump it all together. You can't have, this, but that it would have been that much better if AJ was still here. No, that's just impossible.
So, including the AJ Brown, this is kind of where I'm at. I think in the immediate, it's probably a step back. And in the future, it could be a step forward, but that's a lot of risk. I mean, right? I mean, we have no idea who will turn out of these 9 draft picks. What will happen? Will Chase Campbell even make the team? I don't know. But I look at it and I say, I probably give this particular draft a B minus because of the shakeup and the uncertainty. a lot of that, maybe it started at a B plus, but the uncertainty gets me to a B minus. It's a good draft. It's not a great draft. Malik Willis could be good. Projected as a first round pick, but there's a reason why he fell. So you have to take that into account. And Treylon Burks, I don't know if he's going to be as good as A.J. Brown. That's a really high bar, and it's a standard that all Titans fans will and should set for a first-round pick at 18 overall. I really thought about going C+, but I liked Malik Willis enough to give me in the B range. But too much risk and uncertainty over the long haul with a quarterback, a wide receiver, and some of the other picks. I grade this overall as a B minus.
I'm higher than you are. I'm at a B plus. I like this draft a lot. And I remember doing this grade last year. I had serious questions about the Titans draft picks last year. I understood the Caleb Farley pick, and I was okay with it because of the situation. I was befuddled at Dylan Radins, but I also knew that they had to make up for Isaiah Wilson. I did not think Dylan Radins was going to be the right person to do it with. I was confused at Monty Rice just because of need. Now, I think Monty Rice is going to be a good player for him. I loved Elijah Molden, despised Des Fitzpatrick, liked Rashad Weaver until it came out that he might have had a domestic violence situation. And then that went away. And then I liked Rashad Weaver. But I didn't feel great about I had serious issues with last year's draft class. I feel really good about this year's draft class for the Titans. Like I think the players they got, they're big school guys. All of them, Power 5 conference players, minus Malik Willis, who's different, but he did start at Auburn. There's a lot of SEC. There's a lot of Big Ten. I think the theme that I understand about this draft class makes me feel better. I think they got really solid players late in the draft that will be able to complement the current roster very well. So I give it a B plus.
I think the hard part of that, and look, I respect and understand your grade, which I usually question sometimes, but I get it. I always go back to the same point. It's the state of the American Football Conference. What is the path to get to where you want to be? And that path is probably the hardest it has been in decades. That conference is stacked. The emergence of Joe Burrow, what the Raiders have done, the emergence of Justin Herbert, the list goes on and on. Russell Wilson, who's a dominant player, has a better team now. And Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, who have been there for the last couple of years, are the last ones I've mentioned. So Mac Jones and the Patriots, who the Patriots as a franchise is the most quality, respected franchise. Well, probably not respected, but quality franchise in winning football games and getting the most out of their players. The Jets had a sneaky good draft. If I looked at overall, it's like who had the best draft? I think the Jets are like top 2. Now,
Giants too.
The Giants they had a lot of ammunition.
Yeah. There's a reason why, because they had a lot of opportunity.
But I thought they picked very, very well. So what is going to happen? Tua and the Miami Dolphins, we didn't really talk a lot about because of Tua, but the Miami Dolphins, I think as a roster, are pretty good. They showed that at the end of the last season. Now, the Titans ruined their season by beating them at home towards the end to prevent them from going to the playoffs again. But for this draft, it doesn't scream win now, because I don't know if the Titans can win now.
I honestly do think it means I think you can win now with these players because they fit what the Titans want to do. They all make sense.
They make sense for Derrick Henry. I led the show with that.
They make sense
but
for the
I don't
season.
know if that's enough to win a Super Bowl, Austin. That's my problem. I don't necessarily believe in the recipe.
But the draft picks, Tannehill's the reason why you don't know if they can win the Super Bowl, not the draft picks.
Right.
But the draft picks fit in holes. Like they needed playmakers on offense, and they got polished products. They didn't draft projects, minus Malik Willis, because you understand that different situation. Like Roger McCreary is a win now guy. Kyle Phillips and who else? Petit-Frere. Hassan Haskins, Burks, and Chig, like those guys are play now guys in certain roles that the Titans have available. Like,
and so maybe look, and I will admit, I'll admit my fault at looking probably more into Tannehill than the draft class, but Tannehill's going to be utilizing these guys, and I don't believe in them, and I just don't, and that's my struggle. The setup of the team, I don't think is good enough to win a Super Bowl, and that's what you're trying to do. You're not rebuilding. You're not the Jags. You're not the Texans. You're not the Jets. That's not the state of your franchise, and so I'm probably influenced too much, so I admit that, but damn, it just drives me nuts.
Chris Stress nailed it because he said the Titans last year drafted projects. Listen to this, because I'm adding to Chris's list. Chris said projects like Radens, Fitzpatrick, and Racey McMath. Those three guys were projects. Caleb Farley was a project. The Titans to this year drafted play now guys who were productive in college, who fit what they want to do, and that are polished at their crafts. I get the guy on YouTube screaming at me saying they're all projects until they touch the field, D'Lo. I understand that. But these guys are more polished at their crafts than the guys they drafted last year. Des Fitzpatrick is good as cut, in my opinion.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
I really like what this group is.
Well, best part is draft class comes in, we find out on the field. And the one thing you are correct, they're ready to play. They're going to get an opportunity. They're going to get the ability to play and prove what their value truly is on the field besides Malik Willis.
All right, we've got jersey numbers for the new Titans draft class.
I would like to know this, and this goes right into my hot take jersey. It's a prediction. Again, I don't have any knowledge, but it is a prediction, and it's based on history of uniform aesthetics. I study the history of uniforms. I'm really good at uniform trivia. I've got a uniform trivia for the chat. I think you'll be able to get it, but it leads into my prediction. Austin, do you have the jersey numbers? Because I haven't seen them, and I'd like for you to tell me what they are.
It's not in a graphic that I can take a screenshot of and show real quick. But Michael Billington, 0 10s. That's good. Do not hand out the number 10 for the love of God. Okay, in order, Treylon Burks, first-round pick, wearing number 16. Sorry, Cody Hollister. All right, the second-round pick, Roger McCreary, wearing number 21.
Like that. I like this.
Oh, God. 21 as a corner. Yes, all day long. Third round pick, Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive lineman, wearing number 78. Makes a lot of sense. Running back, Hassan Haskins, wearing a pretty successful running back number in Titans history, number 28. Tight end, Chig Okonkwo, wearing number 85. Makes a lot of sense. Kyle Phillips, wearing number 18. Good jersey number for Kyle Phillips there. Theo Jackson, local boy out of Overton in Tennessee, wearing number 29, filling that Dane Cruikshank role with Dane Cruikshank's number. And Ole Miss linebacker Chance Campbell wearing number 45.
Whatever they'll give him.
Whatever he gets.
I have, just because we don't usually get on this conversation, I love 40 numbers for running backs, and it is a thing that people don't like. I love 40 numbers for running backs. That's why I like Foreman before he got 7. A big 40 guy running for, and maybe it's my Mike Allstott love of it's a fullback, but still. All right, here's my prediction.
I skipped somebody. Malik Willis wearing number 7. I completely skipped Malik Willis.
The biggest draft pick.
Yeah.
So if you look at Titans history and what happens, here's my prediction. And I think this is the best jersey swap I have seen. And there's some good Malik Willis's, but here's my prediction. I think that when a torch is passed, and whenever that is, and Malik Willis gets his opportunity, the Titans will shift into this uniform combination more often at home. And they don't wear it and have only worn it a few times, or a couple of times, really. It is right here. The navy blue over white. This is my prediction. I think when Malik Willis becomes a starter, that's when you try to change your combo, right? Your traditional combo. And I am a jersey nerd, so you may not care about this, but I do for some reason. I think this is a great jersey swap of Treylon Burks, but navy blue over white. Now, here comes my trivia. Austin, can you tell me two things? How many times have the Titans worn navy blue over white, and what was the result of those games? Those are the two questions. It's a two-part question.
Of last season?
No, ever. They have not worn, and the hint is they have not worn this uniform combination that often since they have changed to their new uniform set with the navy blue helmets.
So in the last 4 seasons?
Yes.
I want to say they lost to the Jets wearing those last year.
That is correct.
I want to say they lost to the Bengals the year before in that jersey.
That is correct.
That's 2, right? Those are the only 2 that made me think about that. So that's not a good track record to lose to really bad teams wearing that on the road.
It's true. It's very true. But the reason why you can't think of a third, because there is not a third.
It's just those 2?
Those 2. I like that uniform combination. I know they haven't had success, but I think when Malik Willis becomes the starting quarterback consistently, that's what they will do at home. And he may be playing that in the new stadium whenever they build that. But that is my prediction. I saw that and I said, that's a damn good looking jersey swap of Treylon Burks right there. I mean, that looks really good.
It does. It does look really good.
So that was my uniform take of the show.
There you go. I don't hate it, but 0-2 with the 2 of the worst losses.
Win with it.
2 of the worst losses in the last 2 seasons were with that uniform. So I don't know if they need to go with that.
And all right, look, not this year, but the following year, they're going with the Mike Munchak throwbacks, right? That was trickled out there by Jim Wyatt a few weeks ago. So
that's right. All right, let's wrap up the week with Ain't That Good News. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com. That's where you guys need to go to change your health plan. FBHP.com/ATOZ. It will just frontline right there to where you need to be to start the process to change your health plan. I started that process. I completed that process. And now I'm reaping the benefit of that process. Better coverage, better rates, better service. I truly do get better coverage. And I save 20% per month on my health plan. 200 plus locations in the state of Tennessee. It's very easy. They run you through a health assessment. It takes 20 to 30 minutes. You answer a bunch of questions openly and honestly. You wait for the quote. The quote comes back, and then boom, your mind is blown. You realize this is much better coverage at a better rate. And I just talked to somebody, so it's better service. Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/A to Z.
BetMGM, download the app. When you do it, use our code ATOZ200. All you got to do is make your first deposit, then take $10, put it on a money line of an NBA playoff game. It doesn't matter if you're going to win or lose that. So pick whatever you want on that $10 money line wager. And then you will automatically win $200 when a single 3-point shot is hit in that game. It's as simple as that with BetMGM. Code ATOZ200. A $10 moneyline wager in an NBA playoff game today wins you $200 in free bets when a single 3-point shot is made. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. Do customer offer. All promotions subject to qualifications and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days. For problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Ain't that good news here on this Friday? Zach, what are the people saying about good news this week?
we've got some good news. Well, Drew comes in here and says, good news, we don't have to deal with Diva Brown, which is new, talking about AJ Brown on social media anymore. Go Grizz Saturday. And, Brooks is suspended. I don't think he should have been suspended for that. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. He should have gotten ejected, but he shouldn't have been suspended. So that's going to affect the Grizz. Ja's going to have to drop 50 in San Francisco. I can't wait for the NBA. I mean, that's good news in general. J. Rome says, good news. We're revealing to our mothers on Mother's Day that they'll be grandmothers again. So congratulations to J. Rome.
Well, J. Rome, I hope your mom's not watching the show right now.
She may be a to Z Sports fan.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
That's risky on you, but I appreciate you coming to us first before your mom.
So
Jerome's announcing pregnancies on the show, not to his family.
Right. We've done that.
We did that. Yes.
We've announced before.
We did do that. That was fun.
We have announced. I mean, that was actually pretty cool. I forgot
that was really cool.
We have announced pregnancies on A to Z Sports Live when they found out. That was a cool moment in A to Z Sports history. Yeah. The real OGs know that. Aaron says, my good news is the Kentucky Derby is tomorrow. Mother's Day is on Sunday, and it is going to be 80 degrees in his area. I haven't checked the weather in Nashville, so I don't know.
Next week it's gonna be hot. We're hitting 90 next week.
Yeah, I like that. Summertime. That's my kind of time. Ryan says, my good news, been completely sober 73 days, have struggled since an adult. Ryan, that's mad props to you. I know you're a consistent watcher of the show, so A to Z supports you in what you're doing. Keep going, my man. So that is good news. Awesome. 73 days and counting. Keep the streak alive. Stephen King says, good news, have on-demand series for favorite football team. Guys who runs it also pretty cool. So that's good. Good news. Big Ten Jeff, good news, taking his mom to Disney. We know Jeff is a big Disney guy. Taking his mom to Disney this weekend, getting a preview of the new Guardian of the Galaxy coaster on Mother's Day before it opens. So we'll sneak preview right there.
Test run for Jeff.
Another real OG of the show. BMO, good news. Him and his wife are celebrating 10-year anniversary. Been together for 16 years, married for 10. So look, that's a celebration.
Yeah.
Right. Jay Cornett says, good news. I found a way to charge for parking for Nashville SC wedding money. Oh, that's probably the best news.
Oh, yeah.
That's good right there.
Hell, that's what I'm talking about. Quick story. The house I lived in Knoxville, we had a parking lot that we charged for, and we could make like a legit $1,000, $1,500 in cash on game day. And there was a couple times that that never made it back to where it was supposed to go after. It would just let up in the bars on Saturday night after the game. But that was
$25 adds up. You got parking.
We had a 90-year-old lady pay for parking. Half cash, half moonshine.
That's the best deal you can have.
That moonshine
for college kids.
That moonshine dissolved the paper Dixie cup real fast. You had to pour it and shoot it. You couldn't wait. But that's
What is your good news, Austin?
I got two. One is a business related good news. Two is a personal good news. I'll start with the business good news. April ended on Saturday, right? So we had a great month of April, great draft. And we've talked a lot about our website expansion over the last couple of months. And the good news is that in the first 4 months of the year, A to Z Sports has 10 million website hits, January through April. So huge first 4 months. May has been ridiculous as well. So thank you to everybody who goes to our website, atozsports.com, whether it's Titans, Vols, Preds, other NFL teams, 10 million hits in the first 4 months of the year. That is my first good news piece for today.
All right. That's excellent news. We all love that. And again, appreciate everybody from doing that. I've kind of got a two-part good news. Okay. My first part good news is one of my best friends from high school is getting married, and we're having a little celebration with all my high school buddies. As you get older, it's really hard to, hang out like you used to. But I've got a really good core group of high school friends, Wildcats Forever for BGA out there. But he's getting married, and we're celebrating tonight. So the gang's getting back together. Even one of my buddies from South Carolina that's been living there is coming back in town because he's from Columbia, Tennessee. And so it's an old school throwdown right there tonight with us and our significant others. And so we're going to cheers and toast to that. That's good.
Nice. My personal good news is last night, my wife and I went to the James Arthur concert in the Cannery Ballroom, which was really fun. There's a couple songs of his that are really special about our relationship. So it was back in I don't know, January or even maybe December when we learned that he was coming to Nashville. So we bought the tickets. Last night was the concert. Had a great time. Made some random friends there at the concert too, but had a great time and didn't get home too late. But he was great. He was really good. Pretty incredible voice there to hear in person. So that was my personal good news.
Great. That good night out on the town on a Thursday night. I'll wrap this show up with I do think this is a great opportunity to talk about Mother's Day. Mother's Day is, I think, special to everybody because everybody has a mom, right? That's the truth, whether you have a relationship or not. But if you do or you don't, I think hug your mom, call your mom, love your mom, do everything that you can to make her feel special. And, I say that because my mom passed away a couple of years ago. I'm fortunate enough, when I go to Dallas, my mom is buried in Dallas and I visit her grave, which means a lot. And I do that every single time that I go to Dallas. And so that's my connection. I love my mom. And, I think when Mother's Day rolls around, it's tough for me because of our connection. But I think it reminds me when I look around at others that have the opportunity to be around their family for Mother's Day, take that opportunity and call them if you're not with them, visit them if you have the ability, because one day, and it's just unfortunate, one day you will not be able to. So I speak from experience, unfortunate experience from that, but that's kind of how I wanted to end this show. Call your mom, love your mom, talk to your mom.
Very well said. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Talk to you guys later. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.